Hello and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Bob Mars from Beyond Clean. Today we're going to begin a series on the IFUs, the Manufacturer's Instruction for Use. On December 7, 1941, President Roosevelt declared the bombing of Pearl Harbor as a day that would always live in infamy. And while this certainly was, maybe on not quite such a serious note, I think all of us have days like that throughout our lives that touch us in ways that we'll always remember. One for me is the date of July the 8th, 2009. It's the date that I received my first update from the Joint Commission saying that they were going to be changing the definition of flash sterilization to IUSS, immediate use steam sterilization. They also in this update said they were going to be taking a deeper look into the sterile processing departments across our country. They were going to start in the operating room from the time that an instrument set leaves the operating room till when it goes to decontamination, then to inspection and assembly, then to sterilization and storage, and ultimately back to the operating room. And they state in there that the surveyor can ask at any time during that process, may I see your manufacturer's instructions for use, to ensure that you are in fact processing that device as defined by the manufacturer of that device. In theory, this was a fantastic idea because it brings light to the enormity of the job that stands in front of sterile processing professionals every day. But in my opinion, it also set a sterile processing department up for failure. Why do I say that? I say that because the sterile processing department is faced with numerous challenges regarding instructions for use. I want you to stay tuned for my next episode because we're going to talk specifically about those challenges and see how we can work to fix them. Today I'd like to follow up on my last discussion that I had with you about the manufacturer's instructions for use, particularly issues surrounding the sterile processing department trying to follow the manufacturer's instructions for use. Today I'm going to give you 3 examples that I find as I go around the country auditing sterile processing departments for Joint Commission and DNV preparedness. The first one that I see is an inadequate inventory of hospital-owned and loaned instruments. Loaned instruments, I mean instruments that are borrowed from a vendor to use for a specific case, whether it may be a spine case or some sort of a total joint. Oftentimes, these departments spend the entire day rapidly turning over trays from one patient to another when they should be focusing on the next day's cases because of these inadequate inventories. And when I see this, I automatically know that they're cutting corners when it comes to following the manufacturer's instructions for use. Often it's a race to see how quickly we can get things back to the operating room because they need them turned over so quickly because either the vendor didn't provide enough sets to the hospital or the hospital has not provided enough funding to allow the department to purchase enough sets so that every patient gets that same standard of care and they've got a set that's terminally sterilized for every case. They may have to employ IUSS. They may have to take shortcuts in the decontamination area where they're manually washing and skipping the mechanical process to get it through the window so the assembly side can rush it back to the operating room for it to be used on another case. And this is just not acceptable. Another example I see is an inadequate or lack of mechanical equipment inventories. A hospital does not have enough 3-basin sinks. They do not have enough ultrasonics. They do not have enough washer disinfectors. They do not have enough sterilizers to perform the tasks needed to turn these sets over on a daily basis and to get them through as the customer needs them. It's really important, administrators specifically, when your sterile processing departments are submitting their budgets, that you take a very close look and understand and make sure that they have adequate inventories of both instruments and equipments so every one of your patients get the same standard of care. Finally, I'd like to talk about the last issue that I see, and that is a lack of or an antiquated use of technology, and by that I mean a tracking system. About 40 to 50% of sterile processing departments do not have a tracking system in their facility. And this exponentially raises how difficult it is for a sterile processing department to track and to follow what they're doing on a daily basis. Again, administrators, you've got to find the funding to make sure that your sterile processing department has the accurate tools to perform their jobs. In later episodes, I'll dig deeper into all of these, but I just wanted to give you a brief update today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Bob Mars, and this is Real Talk.